Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem, a big one. You see, when a lot of people think board games, they think of games like Trouble and Sorry and Candyland and, well, far be it for me to tell you that these games are bad. I mean, giving your kid this game for the holidays is kind of like giving them a video game console from the 80s. It's, well, there's newer and bigger and better things, and that's what our top 5 list is about today. It's all about the top 5 family games to get for your family and your kids this season. Ladies and gentlemen, this problem we have, this is a stigma, it's nostalgia, and it runs so deep that games like Trouble can be sold without even having a description of what Trouble is even about. Just made in China, what comes in the box, and that's pretty much it. When games like that are so ingrained in our society that people don't know that these other games exist, that's an issue, and we're going to talk about that today. So, our top 5, we're going to start off in no particular order. This is just a top 5 that I came up with. I had trouble figuring out what I was going to do with it because I had to do some research to make sure that each of the ones on this top 5 list are still readily available in stores and perhaps online. Really important here, I'm going to give you the minimum age for each of these board games as I give them to you. And now this minimum age, it may not necessarily be what's on the box, but it's going to be what the Board Game Geek community suggests that should be the average age that a child can play this or start learning this at. So typically these are either going to be equal to or below what it says on the box. So without further ado, let's get to number 1. Number 1 is a game that I don't have with me, but I've had a chance to play several times, and I can safely say that I enjoy it and the original game, and that is Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. In Azul Stained Glass of Sintra, you're going to be bidding for different colored tiles so that you can complete rows of stained glass windows. Each of these rows is going to be somewhat randomly generated, and your objective is to try and get the colors in each of the columns to line up with the tiles that you collect. Of course, there are intricacies such as the tiles that you don't collect go into the middle of this pot, and whoever chooses that gets every single tile in there, whether they need them all or not. And there are ways of sort of duping your opponents, getting them to get negative points. Overall, I would say the reason I'm choosing Stained Glass of Sintra over the original Azul is I think that the original Azul is a little bit more difficult. Nevertheless, the community suggested age for Azul Stained Glass of Sintra is 8 years and up. Next up is a game that I have had for a long time, and it is Tsuro. We did a review of this early on in our career on the Felroad Express, and we've got nothing but good things to say about it. Tsuro is a solid game. It is called The Game of the Path, and in it you are flying your dragon through these twisting, turning tiles as you attempt to be the last one on the board. The way that you win the game is either by tricking your opponents into colliding with each other or forcing them off the board by making their path twist in a way that they just can't get out. They have no choice but to leave the board. And if you're the last dragon left on the board, you're the winner. Tsuro, The Game of the Path, is so easy and fun, and you can play it with up to 8 players. The suggested age range on the box is 8, but the Board Game Geek community suggests that 6 years old is a good starting point for Tsuro. Number 3 is a game that I've also had the pleasure of playing many times, but I don't have it with me here, and that is King Domino. Now there's also a version called Queen Domino, which is also a great one that you can get. King Domino and Queen Domino, I believe both the recommended ages on the Board Game Geek community are 6 and up. In King Domino, you're simply placing these terrain tiles that are shaped like domino pieces on this very small 5x5 grid, and you're attempting to connect as many parts as you can to collect points for yourself, and in the end of the game, whoever has the most points, whoever was able to connect their different areas the best, wins. It's a super simple game. It takes dominoes and adds a few more details to it and puts a new skin of building this sort of kingdom with swamps or deserts or bodies of water. And you gain points in different ways depending on whether you have special towns or buildings there, and whether you connect these different types of lands in different ways. King Domino is quick, easy to learn, and fun for kids as young as 6 years old. Number 4 on our list of family games that you should be getting this season is Onitama. Onitama, which you can see right here, is a 2-player game. So this is for maybe if you've only got one child, or maybe you've got 2 kids who like to play with each other. If you're teaching your child chess or checkers, you can teach them Onitama. The box suggests that it should be for ages, according to this, 10 and up, but the Board Game Geek community suggests that 8 and up is a good place to start. But once again, if you're teaching your kids checkers, this is just a step up from checkers. I would say that this is a super easy game to play, and the way that you play it is simply by using these movement cards to, say, take a piece, and I can move it diagonally upwards, so I could take this piece, move it diagonally upwards. You take pieces in the same way that you would in chess, and that is simply by moving onto their square and taking them. And the way you win the game is by either taking the master or by getting your master to your opponent's dojo gate. And I've practically told you most of the rules to Onitama just now. And I would say that the intricacies, thanks to the cards that come in the game, make it more fun than checkers and just a nice variation from chess. It's quicker to play. A game's probably going to last for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes. I should also note that there are 16 cards that come in the game, and in each game you'll only use 5 of them, which means that each time you play the game, there's the potential for it to feel completely different, which adds a lot of replay value to it. So, for your 2-player family game, Onitama is what I recommend. And number 5 on our list is a great stocking stuffer, and that is Deep Sea Adventure. Deep Sea Adventure is a micro game in which you play a little diver who is on a submarine and diving for buried treasure. But the problem is, you all had to rent the same sub because, well, you're too broke to have your own sub, which means you all share the same oxygen supply. So when the oxygen supply gets all the way down to 0, anyone left outside of the submarine has to drop their treasure, and it floats to the bottom where it stacks up in groups of 3, which is how treasure actually stacks up at the bottom of the ocean. Deep Sea Adventure is quick and easy. You'll play it in 3 rounds, in which there's way more tiles than what I'm showing you here. It will gradually make the trail shorter and shorter, allowing you to get to the bottom where more valuable treasure is waiting for you. It's really interesting. You've only got this one trail, and yet the decisions that the players make can really affect the outcome of the game and just how the game is played. So playing it with different people could very well get you different results and get you an entirely different feel for this game as well. So for that good stocking stuffer, Deep Sea Adventure is what I recommend, and it's recommended for ages 8 and up by the community. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll definitely consider getting one of these board games instead of one of those just classic kind of throwaway go-tos that we've all just become so used to in society. Thanks for watching the Felroid Express, and I hope you'll watch more top 10 videos on board games and more video game videos. Check you next time.